Welcome to Heart. I'm your host, Dana Andrews, and this is where we merge the worlds of hip hop and art. And today we have a very special guest. Hey, welcome to Heart. I'm your host, Dana Andrews, and again today we have none other than the man, the myth, the legend, none other than Mr. Rick Ross. How you doing today, Mr. Ross?
Well, how are you?
And I'm wonderful. I'm blessed. It's a beautiful day. Yeah, man, I've seen a lot of your interviews online, and I kind of know where they usually go. So I wanted to kind of switch it up a little bit. I hope you don't have a problem with me taking it deep.
No, I like the intelligent conversation. You get tired of other people's minds, and the only way you can do that is get deep. If you just stay on the surface where everybody else is, then the conversation is really just a surface conversation. But I think that I'm much deeper than that. So let's see what you can do.
Well, I'm going to start off like this. Everybody, for the most part, have seen a lot of the interviews, but I would like to know, and I'm sure most people would like to know, tell us something that most people don't know about you. A dark secret, a hidden talent, just something people don't, the average person would not know about you.
Well, I would say this here, and one of my most important principles is to never lose your mind. If it ever came down to a situation where you had to lose a limb, you always want to make sure it's not your mind. I would rather go blind, be crippled, paralyzed, but have my mind still functioning. Because with the mind, you can do anything, and without it, you can do nothing.
It's funny that you say that. That's actually pretty profound because I was talking to my uncle today. He is paralyzed from the waist down, and he was actually shot. And I was telling him today, I try to motivate him. Sometimes when you got homies or family members that are paralyzed, and I try to encourage them. I said, you can do it whatever you want to do because your brain is the most powerful and strongest muscle in your body. The same sentiments of what you just said, so I totally agree. And I tell brothers the same thing. It's your mind. Even brothers that's locked up, like they said, it's a cliche. They can lock up your body, but they can't lock up your mind. So I have to agree. That was very profound, very deep.
No doubt, no doubt. When we look at the gorilla, he's 10 times stronger than a man, but he still allows a man to capture him and put him in a cage. So it goes right back to that same saying, is that your mind is really the key.
Leads me into another segue that I was going to ask you. How do you compare the opioid epidemic, which they're trying to call it now, to the crack epidemic, which we know tore up homes?
Enterprising dealers went further, developing a form of cocaine that was even cheaper and packed a lot more punch.
This is it. The drug so powerful it will empty the money from your pocket.
They're still in prison behind that from the 70s and 80s. How do you compare that? How are they trying to make the opioid epidemic into, we need to rehabilitate you and get these people help?
It is so addictive, and once the addiction is there, I'm told the chances of rehabilitation are extremely slight.
Well, definitely, they've already said it's a medical problem and not a criminal problem. What they'll be dealing with the sellers criminally, but it won't be held the same way that, like you said, they did with the crack epidemic. Because there's still people who was messed up by crack that are still having hard times. Can't get housing. Who went to prison can't get housing, or mothers who lost their kids can't get their kids back. And now with the opiate epidemic, it's medical. So it's something that should be treated, should be...
Well, it seems like that to me. They're embracing them. So they embracing them as
absolutely.
They're looking at them like criminals, and they have a problem, and that's a crackhead. They're looking at them like, that could be my brother, that could be my sister.
Well, it is their brothers and sisters.
Opioid crisis is a crisis. I see it every day. It's as bad as they say. It's ruining lives. It's destroying families. Sadly, you know what it reminds me of, seeing it? It reminds me of us. These white folks look exactly like us during the crack epidemic. It's wild because I even have insight into how the white community must have felt watching the black community go through the scourge of crack. Because I don't care either. Hang in there, whites. Just say no. What's so hard about that?
We weren't their brothers and sisters. You know, we were those people from South Central Los Angeles. I mean, the system is definitely not geared to assist us, and never was. You know, when they brought us over here, they brought us over here for one purpose, and that was to do free labor and breed to do more free labor. We were never brought over here to be made equal, to be educated, to be habilitated. You know, one of my coaches, he always says a thing, and he said, "How can you be rehabilitated when you have never been habilitated?"
That was pretty deep. I felt that because similar to the same. I'm gonna kind of steer here.
Well, you know, that's really a message for black people, because even though we are strong and possibly some of the most brilliant people on the planet, but we don't use it. You know, we allow our skills to be used by others and not by ourselves, and we don't use them for our own benefit. You know, we do critical thinking, but it's for other people.
So it's safe to say, in other words, we're getting pimped by the system.
You said it.
You know, I'm gonna follow up with this question because, I mean, when people see you, they automatically see drug dealer. He's a drug dealer. He's a felon. This is what I see as an entrepreneur.
That's cool. And I sold drugs for 8 years. But I'm a lot older than 8 years. You know what I'm saying? That was a window in my life that I went through, you know. And it shouldn't be held no further than somebody who used drugs for 8 years and then got clean, you know, and who is trying to stay clean. But the system has a little different grasp when they're dealing with the black male. See, if you're a white male, you can be rehabilitated, and that's why when you go to court, the judges have tendencies to give them less time and to send them to drug rehab and special programs. And when you're a black male and you can be 19, 20 years old, first offense, and they feel like you should go to prison.
Statistically speaking, you are not supposed to be here. You're supposed to be
Absolutely
dead.
not.
For lack of a better word. You're not supposed to be
Or in prison.
Man, you beat the odds. Can you just speak to that a little bit, how you were able to overcome obstacles and beat the odds when all the odds were against you?
Well, you know, what I found out about myself is that I'm a critical thinker. I don't care what the situation is. If I'm put in a situation, I'm going to be able to sit there and gradually figure it out. And that's one of the keys of my success, is that I'm able to look at situations and figure out, you know, I didn't do good in school. You know, I couldn't read till I was 28 years old. Taught myself in prison. And I used to look at myself like I was dumb, stupid, you know. But then when I got to prison and I had this time to be just with me, you know, not to hear all the noise and the TVs and the radios and the people. It was just me.
Well, how did you, I want to pause right there. I want you to speak on that. Being illiterate, without a formal education, how do you parlay that into an empire? Because, again, a normal, seemingly normal thinking person is going to think if someone doesn't have an education, I'm not talking about 5-year-old daughter, you need to go to school to do this and do that, you know, the same rat race. But with you not having a formal education, how are you able to parlay that into an empire and become an author and blogger?
Well, you know, schooling is only one part of being educated. I believe it's very important to know how to read, count, and do science. If you can do those three things, then you could build these buildings that we got right here. You know, all of this is math science. And what I found out is that even though I couldn't apply these principles to schoolwork, I was applying them to my life.
You know what? I got to stop. I'm the same way, and I'm sure a lot of black people. I was probably labeled ADHD, ADD, and they tell us that. Now that I look back as a grown man, I'm 34 years old now, and I can see I just wasn't interested in that stuff. A lot of that stuff is culturally biased.
There you go.
I care about European history.
There you go. Right.
So naturally, that's going to be boring to me. I'm not going to learn that. But tell me about Michael Jordan. I can tell you all Michael Jordan statistics from top to bottom, where he was born in North Carolina, where he played, blah, blah. I can tell you all that. I mean, he was born in Brooklyn, sorry. But that's just how you know. I retained that information. I thought I was always good at math. I was always good at science. Anything that didn't have to do with history or something that was biased or for them, I excelled in. So I think you're absolutely right. And that leads
And a lot of times with the schools too, you know, they were just talking about it on the radio a couple of weeks ago, because I listen to the news all the time, that the SAT is biased. The SAT is fixed for people with a certain income level, a certain demographic, and it's a hindrance to people from a different side of the street.
right, because a person in South Central or South of the 105, they're not going to care about no Christopher Columbus or no, none of that they teach.
And all that's a lie anyway.
Right.
You know, there's a black man that showed Christopher Columbus how to get over here.
Morris, yeah, you're absolutely right.
So, but they never mention that. You know, he should really be the one that gets the holiday.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because he never enslaved nobody. You know what I'm saying? He was just doing a good deed, he thought. You know, helping somebody out. Oh, you lost? Let me show you the directions. So you know, and then as a kid, if you get all of this conflicting information that just doesn't add up, then you start to question the whole system.
Right, naturally that's confusing to a youngin.
Absolutely. And then, you know, you open up these books and they got Jack and Jill, you know, they got the little white girl and the little white boy run up the hill with the spotted dog, you know, to get a pail of water, you know. I don't want to know what they doing.
Right, I taught my daughter from birth, she'll tell you right now, Easter Bunny fake, white Jesus fake, unfortunately, Tooth Fairy fake, all that. And then some people might say, well, that's harsh, you shouldn't do that, don't take away her innocence. No, I'm going to teach her the real, and get her ready for the real.
That makes her innocent when you give her the truth. She can be innocent. But if you got fake information, you're going to be expecting her to make decisions based off of fake information. So how can she come up with correct answers?
You are an established author. You do have 2 books, and you have credits of being an author. One of the books is called The 21 Keys to Success. Do you mind speaking on that, please?
Well, that book was not planned. You know, it just like came about. I was in prison, and this young brother wrote me. He owned a magazine called Get Money, and he wanted me to be on the front cover of his magazine. And I was like, yeah, I'll do that. Why not? You know? So when I got out of prison, he started writing me while I was in prison, about 2 years before. And what I do is everybody that I talk to, if I see they're about their money, I try to give them game, you know, of my experiences and the way I see see life. And it was no different with him. So when he started writing me, you know, he's had a magazine called Get Money. I'm like, you got a magazine called Get Money, and I know you done read these 3 books, you know, Think and Grow Rich, Richest Man in Babylon, Nazareth Man Think. And he was like, no, I ain't never read them. I was like, come on, man, how you a real entrepreneur and you ain't read these books? You know, this.
You know, that's funny you say that. Me and my wife, I actually go to bed to that Napoleon Hill, because just like you were saying, man, the mind is powerful, and what you tell the universe is what's going to manifest.
No doubt,
And
no
so
doubt.
I've been practicing that, and you can get more done in a 3-month span than you did in 5 or 10 years just by changing your way of thinking. And a lot of brothers not up on Napoleon Hill, and even this is what I'm doing right now. To be honest, I'm trying to be Napoleon Hill. I study success, which is why I even wanted this interview. I studied greatness. Not to ask you about drug dealing, because like I said in the beginning, you're more than a drug dealer to me. I see you as an entrepreneur. I study successful people.
Yeah, but I only sold drugs for 8 years.
Wow, that's what people fail to realize.
Yeah, that was a short period of time in my life. It ain't like I mean I did 20 years in prison behind selling drugs, but the actual being a drug dealer was only a short window.
One shot. You know what? I read something about you, or I may have heard it in an interview. I know you into like the black exploitation films, the Superflies, the Max, them type of 70s films. Let's kind of transition to that black exploitation. You know, we got the conscious community, the so-called black leaders. You got the Tariq Nasheeds, the Dr. Boyce Watkins. You got the other brother that called himself the Prince of Pan-Africanism. I forget his name. But you got all these brothers, man, that's in this conscious, so-called conscious community trying to lead the black people, our people. What's your thoughts on where we need to go as a people, the direction that some of these people that's calling themselves our so-called leaders?
Well, you know, when I was in prison, and it's funny that we up so high right now. This was a lot like my cell was. My cell was high up in the sky. It was 28 stories up.
Wow.
My windows wasn't this big, though. But I had a view. It was $1 million view. And you know, I looked out my window and I was like, man, you're going to win your case. What you going to do with it? And I started to look at myself to figure out what could I bring back to the streets with me? You know, what could I bring to help my people? And what popped in my head was economics, you know. When I first thought about selling drugs and the way I sold drugs, I didn't really think much of it. I was like, you know, anybody can take $125 and parlay that into, you know, once in a while, $3 million in one day. Anybody. But this is how I thought. This is what I'm thinking to myself, right? Because this is just me in a cell by myself, talking to myself. And I thought that anybody could do it. But then these youngsters start coming to me, talking to me, and I started to see that that wasn't totally true. Anybody can do it if they have the principles. But if you don't have the principles, no matter how good of a person you are, you can't do it.
So would you consider yourself a leader in the black community?
Yeah, I am in a lot of ways. You know, I'm a leader and a follower. You know, I follow some, lead some.
I would say you're a leader. You drop the game. And it's kind of like, I liken you to like a Nipsey Hussle. It's a lifestyle. When I see you, when I listen to you, when I'm with you, it's not just like a movie type of deal. You know what I'm saying? It's real. And so I look at you as one of those type of people you are.
Well, my mission is bigger. It's bigger than Nipsey's. You know, I feel that my mission is probably the biggest mission that any black man ever had. I don't think that there's ever been a black man on the planet whose mission is bigger than what my mission is. And that's why I work so hard. You know, my people, they tell me all the time, they say, man, why do you go so hard? Why don't you sleep more? And my mission is so important. It's important to my people.
Well, why do you think you should? Because obviously you dodged the pitfalls, the money, clothes, drugs, and everything that's meant and designed to tear a brother down. How did you avoid these? And what do you think your purpose is?
Because my teacher told me to protect your mind.
Back to the mind.
If you protect your mind, the clothes don't make you. The cars don't make you. None of that stuff make you who you are. You already made that.
Well, what is a man? In your opinion, what is a man?
Oh, man, a man, he's not. I mean, he's supposed to first provide for his family, his loved ones, his friends, and his community. If you're not doing that, you're really not being useful, you know. And that's one of the things that I found out in prison, you know, being in prison, why prison is so bad and so hard on people is because it makes you useless.
It's dead time.
you're doing dead time. You're in a box, a concrete box where you can't move, you can't go, you can't talk, you can't do anything but sit there on that box and think about what you did and what you're gonna do in the future.
Okay, Mr. Ross, just kind of, rounding out the whole prison thing, can you just kind of touch on mass incarceration and some of the 1984 Crime Control Act bills that people may not know about, and some of these laws and some of the books that brothers may not be aware of?
Well, in 1987, the Reagan administration, they came up with the Get Tough on drugs, and in that bill, they passed a crack law that was 100 times to 1 for powder to crack, where if you got caught with crack cocaine, they would give you 100 times worse punishment for having crack than they would powder. What they were saying at the time,
You were saying about 100 times the punishment for probably the same crime.
they were saying that for crack cocaine and powder cocaine, if you had the same weight in powder and crack would get 100 times worse sentence than the powder would.
Amplified by 100%. Well, that kind of leads into my next question. Do you think there's a direct correlation between drug use and abuse in two-parent households? Do you think it's your chances of being hooked on drugs or becoming exposed to that lifestyle reduced, if you have two-parent households as opposed to just single-parent households?
Well, definitely, we know that having a father in the home definitely gives you an advantage in life. I look back at just my friends. We had two friends that both had their dad in the home. And even though they did everything that we did, neither one of them never went to prison. Went to jail, but never prison. And I can't say what the effect of having a father was, what helped solidify that situation, but it happened like that,
Well, I mean, even now, as you become wiser in this walk in your path in life, what would you say is the importance of family in this whole big scheme of things? What's the importance of family in your opinion?
Well, family is supposed to prepare the kid for the world, but what happens in a lot of our situations is that the parents are not prepared. So if the parents is not prepared, then there's no way that the kids can be prepared because there's nobody to prepare them. And that's why it's so important for us right now to start making a change, to start getting ourselves in the mindset for the future.
Cycle, this perpetual cycle of nothingness that we got going on.
Exactly. And a lot of that stems from not having vision. If you don't have vision, then you can't see yourself 5 years from now or 10 years from now. Just looking here at the guys building these buildings, they had a vision. He walked out one day and it probably was an old rundown building that was there, but he saw this big, pretty, shiny building that everybody was going to want to live in 4 or 5 years before he ever broke ground.
Put it into action.
And he put it into action. And that's what we basically have to start doing with our lives. We have to see a big, bright, shiny life for yourself, that will make you sacrifice, that will make you get up early, will make you go to bed late, will make you say no to drugs.
I mean, what brings you joy right now? What gets you out of bed? What gets you going?
Well, I kind of lost my life for a while. It's almost like being in a coma. When I was in prison, I look at that as almost like being comatized. But understanding what's going on around you. You know, like you're in a situation, you're in a cocoon where you can't move, you can't go where you want to go. You know, almost like
Is that where you got your inspiration? You got a lot of your thoughts to want to become an author? Is that where you seen your vision and seen the books while you were incarcerated? Did you see yourself becoming an author one day?
Well, I did after a while. I did see myself becoming an author. First, I had to realize that there was a value in what I knew. And I guess one of the things that really sparked me was Tookie Williams when he wrote his book on cripping. And I was like, wow, Took wrote a book on cripping. We need a book on selling drugs. You know, we need a book where if a kid was thinking about getting involved with drugs, that he could open up this book and almost know exactly where his life was going to wind up.
Right, see the good and the bad. Because a lot of the time, people only going to give you the good.
Well, that's what happens in the street with the big homies. The big homies ain't going to give you the bad. You know, they ain't going to tell you, oh, man, y'all two dudes is cool, huh? Y'all run together, y'all doing all this, and y'all chasing girls together, y'all getting money together, y'all doing all this. One of y'all going to tell on the other one.
Just come along with that. So that leads me to one more question about that. What do you, and be honest with me, how do you feel about some of the big homies right now? Because you got a lot of brothers that's leading brothers to death and destruction to the prison. Would you consider them a big homie? What's your stance on the current climate of gang banging and just senseless killing and things like that coming from South?
Well, big homie don't have anything to do with if you know how to save somebody. You know, that has absolutely nothing to do with it because these guys love each other and want the best for them, but they can only give them what they have. You know, if all you got is a pistol to give your little homie that you love, that's what you give him. You know?
So for, I guess that would be just lack of understanding, just
Lack of knowledge.
lack of knowledge, wisdom,
Vision.
vision.
All that. You know, like the guys who doing these buildings, they're going to leave their little homies the idea of how to build a high rise.
Wow. You know what, we don't think about it like that. And like I said before, I see you as an entrepreneur, and that's what I try to be, inspired to be a great entrepreneur, to leave my kids something, not just my kids. You know, I'm not really in Bible per se, but the scripture does say, you know, wise man will leave something for his kids. So I think we got to start looking towards the future like you said.
Absolutely. And that's part of a vision. For you to see that you are going to need to do that for your great-great-grandkids is a vision. It's part of the vision. Like, this is what I see myself doing in the future. And that's what a lot of us like is that vision because this system has beat us down. You know, this system ain't been easy on us. So often we don't see ourselves as anything other than what we do every single day. And that's why they can go to the liquor store every day because, you know, and sit in front of the liquor store because this is how they're supposed to spend the rest of their life.
Yeah, man. Yeah, Rick, like I said, I'm an athlete, man. I hoop, so I hoop. And,
I hoop too.
You hoop too? Okay, you're kind of short, you right?
Yeah, I hoop. You know, I understand. I shoot that jump shot, the 20-footer, you know.
So,
Handle the ball.
What other sports you into?
Well, I played just about everything. Football, baseball, you know, tennis. I probably was better at tennis than any of them, though. You know.
Tennis?
Yeah. I played high school tennis. Made all city.
Wow. So you were pretty invested in it. You took tennis kind of seriously.
Yeah, I thought I was going to be a pro. I used to think I could be a pro at tennis. I thought tennis would be my way out of the ghetto. You know, I used to want to move out of the ghetto. You know, everybody in the ghetto wanted to get out. I was one of them. You know, like, how can I get out of here? You know?
Which is kind of ironic because you got people faking it from just trying to get into the ghetto, and you got people trying to get out of the ghetto. So that's just kind of
You know, they buying the ghetto up now.
right, gentrification.
Yeah, gentrification all over the country.
Yeah, all over the country, all over the world. They're doing that in Africa right now. They're going in there and taking all the resources and taking everything up out of there. Yes, gentrification is a big deal. But I wanna speak on a couple articles you got in LA Magazine, Esquire Magazine. If you want to touch on that.
Oh yeah, that LA Magazine is one of the dopest articles that probably ever been written. Jesse Katz wrote it. He came up to USP Lompoc when I was doing a life sentence without the possibility of parole, and he was writing my obituary.
Wow.
And in that interview, my vision was strong. You know, my vision was like 20 years. My vision was 20 years ahead of me. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was 98. This is 2019. So,
27 years.
was it 27? No.
2008
2000.
or 1998?
98. So we say 98 to 19 is what? 21 years. I think 21 years. So my vision was riding 21 years ahead of my actions. You know, my actions are just now starting to bring to fruition what my vision had saw for myself. You know, in that article, I talked about being an author. I talked about being a motivational speaker, working with politicians, doing boxing. You know, I just come from Philly 2 days ago with G.R.D, the champ. You know, he has three belts that Floyd abandoned. He picked up 3 of those belts already.
How do you bring all this into fruition, though? How do you have vision for 21, 22 years before you can even see? Remember, you got a man coming to write your obituary, but you're not thinking about dying. You're thinking about living.
No, I ain't trying to die. I want to live. And I want to live well. You know, I don't want to live and be sick. You know, that's why I'm a vegan. You know, I stopped eating salt. I stopped eating sugar, butter. I haven't drunk a soda in, 30-something years. No cigarettes, you know, alcohol, maybe 3 times a year.
How about that green stuff? You into the marijuana industry is big right now.
I love marijuana. I eat it. I don't smoke it though. I eat it. Yeah, I'm on the eating and drinking side of it. But I love the marijuana industry. You know, I think it's an industry that we all should be trying to get into. This could be our Microsoft, our Apple, our Walmart. You know, we missed all those opportunities, but the marijuana could be our way of getting generational wealth. You know, right now we're fighting here with LA though. You know, we had a social equity program here for the people who were affected by the war on drugs, who were attacked, targeted, you know, by the police. You know, doing.
I got a felony for weed, and I say, well, I got a felony for weed, the same stuff that you know, we don't know about color, but the white man's selling it, making billions of dollars. But you gave me a felony when I was 19, and you stripped me of being able to own a firearm and hindered me from.
Well, you know, we doing
like
stuff now. We can get that expunged for you.
Really?
Yeah, we can get that expunged for you. We do expungement clinics. We've done expungement clinics in Chicago. We've done numerous here in LA. And the next one we do, I'll let you know. You come out and we expunge that thing for you. Get off your record.
Thank you, Mr. Beth. Well, when it comes to the marijuana industry and being an author and entrepreneur, I mean, you got a clothing line. I don't know if y'all can see the clothing line as well. But what else you got coming down the pipeline?
What else we got? We got a marijuana brand. You know, LA Kingpin is coming. Matter of fact, we're in a few stores already. You know, it's hard to get in stores though because we're a minority. You know, and ain't many of us own stores. So.
Do you think they're trying to blackball us and block us?
I wouldn't say that. I ain't gonna say that yet, because my brand is still new. We've been out about 3 weeks now, so I won't say that we're being blackballed, but I'll know in a minute. You know, once I start pushing, because I'm gonna push this thing hard. You know, I plan on having the biggest brand in the industry.
Well, it seems like everything you do, you got the Midas touch in terms of gold. So I don't see this being no different.
Well, you know, I got the principles. I got the principles that makes the Midas touch. You know, that makes everything go. You know, and once you get those principles, there's almost no industry or no endeavor that you can't tackle.
I like that. So you take the same principle. I mean, that's kind of like my granddad told me. You stay true to the game will stay true to you.
There it is right there.
So, you know, and he goes back to the businessmen in that era when they were driving Rolls Royces back in the 70s. And he used to actually come down here to Skid Row, hop out his Rolls Royce and a mink and pass out money. And you know, I'm friends with your son, and I can kind of relate to that. A lot of these cats out here, man, they getting this stuff off BET or a movie or something they seen on TV or something like that. And just like yo, son, I was raised by a king boss, so I kind of know what that's like. You know what I'm saying? As opposed
Right.
to watching American Gangster saying, "No, that's my granddad." You know?
Right.
My granddad, like kind of similar to how people came with you, and I think there's a difference. And that's why I respect you, man.
And TV is so much make-believe, you know. That's another form of that miseducation, you know, where they make our young people believe that it's done one way when it's really not did that way. And they come up with this misinformation and they try to follow the steps that they've been told off of TV, and it just doesn't work.
So did the marijuana, the legal marijuana industry, did that kill the black market weed? Did that kill the game?
It hasn't yet. I don't know if it will or not. But that's a tricky situation, you know, because what's wind up happening is the same people who used to lock you up for marijuana now are the people who own all the licenses. The people who were in the streets selling the marijuana, well, they didn't have the money to go out and buy the buildings. They didn't know how to go through the licensing process. And that's what we're doing. I'm working with a company called Indica right now. And what we do is we're going to be doing an outreach program where we're going to be taking people, showing them how to get into the industry and how to function inside of the industry.
Is there a way to stop some of these big boys like the Marlboros, Newports, and all these guys from hopping in the game? Does it seem like
No, you can't stop them. They're buying all the politicians. You know, so, you know, the madmans, they're going to come in and they're going to buy. They're going to pay their way in, you know, and it's sad.
It's a pro quo type of thing, like what's going on with Trump. You got to pay to play.
Exactly.
Pay over.
And it's sad, but our politicians are for sale. You know, they're selling. You give them your vote, and then they're going to sell your vote.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, that's how laws are passed by lobbyists in Washington. They go there to get money.
Absolutely.
How else would you start as a politician poor, and by the time you leave office, you 20, 30 million up in the game? Where did you make this money
You
from?
done sold it. You've been selling. You've been selling your vote, selling your influence, which they're not supposed to do. But at the end of the day, they're doing it.
So I mean, is it a thing to where we just don't know the rules to the game, and we just not playing?
Absolutely. I mean, it's totally us not knowing, you know. But, you know, one of my teachers said that how will they know unless somebody teach them? So somebody has to turn on the light. You know, somebody had to hit that switch and turn the knob to where that light comes on in their head and say, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And if
Well,
that...
with me, I have my grandpa, I got uncles. Who was influential to you? Who was your influence? Who helped you get things on track? Who got your mind?
I've had so many influencers, you know. So, I mean, even right now, so many people influence me right now, you know. So many people give me ideas, directions, connections. I couldn't just, you know, it just go, you know, the list would be endless, you know. From the person who first started me, you know, selling drugs.
Well, you make a lot of reference to your teachers. Were there some teachers that were more influential than others? That gave
Oh,
you
absolutely,
that along the way?
absolutely, absolutely. One of the ones that that I appreciate the most is Dr. Bouquet. You know, he just gave me so much game, you know, about how to be a thinker, you know, how to be a critical thinker, you know, how to love my people, how to be able to forgive, you know, and forget. A lot of times, you know, so much stuff going on in our community that should be forgotten about, but it doesn't. You know, like a lot of the gangs that's fighting right now, they're fighting and they don't even know what they're fighting for because something happened 20 years ago, so they don't like that hood, and it just keeps being passed down. And
I'll go deeper with it. You got brothers in Texas that's claiming Hoover and all kind of gangs, 60s and all different gangs, and they ain't never even been to LA before, but they be having the same gangs in Vegas.
and they fighting the same fight that the 60s and the Hoovers out here fighting. You know, it translates and it's just crazy.
Well, I mean, you've seen it from the beginning. You've seen it take off. Take me back briefly, if you can, to LA before crack hit, before Freeways, when things were a little bit more simple. I know there's always been heroin and things like that, but before we had this big wave that just came and destroyed the community, what was LA like back then?
LA was live. I mean, always, you know, but we've had gangs since the 70s. You know, the gang started, the first time I recognized a gang was around 70, 71. It was the first time I ever recognized the gangs, and they were at my school, and I thought it was the coolest shit in the world, though. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I'm see like 40 black dudes hanging out together. They all kind of dressing alike, and you know, and it was just that camaraderie, that brotherhood that I was drawn to. It was only later that I found out that, you know, that they would fight other people because of a color and because of a street and so forth. But when I first saw it, I thought it was the coolest shit in the world. But LA was live. I mean, you could pretty much go anywhere. You didn't have to worry about being shot. But it just gradually started to get worse and worse. You know, it started from, you know, where the gangs might jump on somebody, take a leather coat, take their tennis shoes, and it just started escalating to where, I mean, a couple months back, it was funny. I see this little Mexican kid, and he's standing on the street selling flowers. And I was like, wow, this kid got a big advantage on the little black kids. Because if you was a little black kid, 14 or 15 years old, you couldn't stand on that corner because somebody's gonna come up and ask you what set you from.
Wow.
So the little Mexican kid gets that job because the little black kid can't do it. And it's sad, but that's the state of our community right now, and we definitely got to change that.
Got to change that. So what is your, and I got to ask you this, I don't think I can let you get away without asking this. What are your thoughts on the death of Nipsey Hussle and his legacy?
Losing Nipsey was tragic, you know. No, I knew Nipsey, not real well, but we was cool. You know, like whenever we would see each other, we would stop and we would talk, and I really wanted to work with Nipsey. You know, I reached out to him a few times about us doing stuff, and you know, he had said that we would, but we never had an opportunity to do anything. I just wish that I would have had an opportunity to teach him a little more than I was able to.
I know I make it a point, me and my wife, we go to Lamar Park on Sundays, and we go and shop in the community, and we go spend with our people, we go buy art, I go to get my hair cut, we go food, maybe go to Taco Mills or something. Do you think, or do you have any initiatives or plans to kind of resurrect these communities? Because and I was telling my wife, it wasn't like this years ago. I was seeing white people walking dogs all through Lamar Park and through South Central. This gentrification thing is really, really kicking in.
Well, our neighborhoods are gone. South Central is going to be bought up. They're going to buy it. It's gone. Baldwin Hills, over.
Do you think it's just a matter of, you know, the influential blacks and the politicians not putting their money back into the neighborhoods?
Well, you know, we're the most unemployed people in the country right now. You know, the unemployment rate for a black male is probably through the roof. The stats may not show because people have been out of work so long that they don't even apply for unemployment no more. They stop looking for jobs, you know, they just give up. So until we can find ways to employ ourselves, then we can't think about buying houses and owning land and nothing else because we don't have any money.
Man, that's a perfect point to end it on. I think, like what you just said, entrepreneurship, that's the key. The only way to get us out of our own situation is to get out of our own way and become our own bosses, like you, the real boss.
Absolutely.
Become an entrepreneur and create a dollar, make a dollar.
Absolutely.
They ain't gonna give it to you, make a dollar.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
Again, Mr. Ross, man, we loved having you. Thank you for coming. I know you're a very busy man. Again, this is the Heart Show where we merge hip hop and art. And I work alongside with Sir Edward Baker, who is an internationally world-renowned artist. And we want to show you what he's done for you. He's done a portrait of you. I don't know if you ever had someone paint a really, really nice, fine art piece of you, but we want to go ahead and show that and gift that to you. That's okay.
That's fine, that's fine. Absolutely.
As you know, this is Heart, where we merge the world of hip-hop and art, and it wouldn't be Heart if I didn't introduce the artist, Mr. Sir Edwin Baker himself.
Oh, what am I didn't know I was supposed to be no.
It's candid. Be candid.
Oh, so all right. Well, yeah, it's me. I did this portrait of Mr. Rick Ross. I call it, it's more the Freeway. You know what I'm saying? Mr. Rick Ross.